Hi, Virgo. Uh, I need to talk to you today. Not at you, uh, to you. Um, because what's coming through in your energy right now has a quality I don't want to rush past. A quality of uh, something is turning. Something that has been pointed in one direction for long enough that it started to feel permanent is finding a new direction. Um, and the preparation, what you do between now and when it fully arrives, matters more than most people realize. Um, so stay with me all the way through because this one is for you. Uh, the first thing coming through, um, and I want you to really let this land, is that the difficulty you've been experiencing, whatever form it's been taking, um, financial pressure, relational difficulty, the specific exhaustion of someone who has been holding too much for too long, without enough return. Um, that difficulty appears to be reaching something. Not a resolution necessarily, a threshold. Um, the specific point where something that has been building beneath the surface finds its way up, uh, where what has been invisible starts becoming visible, where the effort that went unacknowledged starts producing something you can actually feel. Mm. That threshold, based on what I'm sensing in your energy, might be closer than it looks from inside the difficulty. Um, and I say might, um, not to soften the message, but because the when of it, um, the exact form it takes, is shaped by what you do from here, which is exactly why preparation matters, which is exactly why we're here today. Uh, let's talk about what a turnaround actually feels like, um, from the inside, because most people have a very specific picture of it. Um, they picture a moment, a clear before and after, a day where everything was hard, um, and then a day where everything was different, obvious, unmistakable, the kind of shift you don't have to squint to see. Uh, and sometimes it does arrive that way. A phone call, um, a decision, um, a conversation that changes everything in 30 minutes. But more often, the big turnarounds, the real lasting ones, arrive incrementally. One small thing shifting, um, then another, then a third, and suddenly you look up and the landscape looks completely different, from what it looked like 6 months ago. Um, and you can't point to the single moment because there wasn't one. Uh, there was an accumulation of small right decisions made consistently in the direction of where you wanted to go. Um, that's the turnaround that might be building for you. Not the dramatic version necessarily, though some of you might be approaching something that does arrive dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
But for most, um, the turning is already happening in ways too small to feel like turning from inside the middle of them. Which is why I need you to pay attention to the small things right now, uh, today. This reflection invites you to consider what has shifted, even slightly in the last 30 days. Um, Not the dramatic things, the small ones, a conversation that opened something, an opportunity that appeared from an unexpected direction,
Mm.
a decision you made, however small, that felt slightly more aligned with who you actually are than the decisions before it. Um, a moment of unexpected ease in an area that has been consistently difficult because those small things, dismissed as coincidence in the moment, um, might actually be the turnaround in its early form, already here, already beginning, um, already producing in the quiet way that real change tends to start. The second thing coming through, and this is the preparation piece, is identity. Specifically, um, the gap between the identity you've been operating from and the identity that the turnaround is moving toward. Because here's what most people don't know, um, about significant life change: the external shift, the opportunity, the relationship, uh, the financial improvement, uh, can only go as far as the internal identity can hold. Um, which means, um, if the internal story hasn't updated alongside the external circumstances tend to return, um, to the level the internal story believes is normal. Not because of bad luck, because systems, human systems included, um, return to their calibration point always, unless the calibration point changes first. Um, and this is what preparation actually means: not logistics, not planning, um, not getting the external pieces in order, recalibrating the internal story before the external shift arrives, um, so that what arrives can actually land and stay rather than passing through um, because the container wasn't built for it yet. So let's talk about the story. Um, what is the story you're currently telling about what's possible for you? Not the aspirational version, um, the operating version, the one running in the background, shaping what you reach for and what you don't, what you apply for um, and what you don't, um, what you ask for and what you talk yourself out of asking for before anyone has had the chance to say no. Uh, because that story, the operating one, is the thing that most needs to shift before the turnaround can fully materialize. And the shift doesn't require years of work. It requires one honest question, um, asked and actually answered. Um, what would I do differently if I genuinely believed the turnaround was already in motion? Um, because the answer to that question is the preparation, not a concept, uh, an action taken today from the already turning around version of yourself, mm, rather than from the version um, still waiting for proof before it's willing to move. This reflection invites you to consider, what is the operating story, the one running beneath everything, about what's available to you, um, not what you tell other people, um, what you tell yourself in the quiet about your ceiling, um, about what people like you in situations like yours, with histories like yours, realistically get to have. Um, because that story, identified honestly, is the single most important thing to update um, before the turnaround arrives. Uh, because a turnaround that lands in an unchanged story tends to be temporary. And a turnaround that lands in an updated one tends to be permanent. Um, which one do you want? The third energy coming through, and this one has a very specific texture, um, is release. Something needs to be put down um, before the new thing can be picked up. Not dramatically, um, not with ceremony, um, but genuinely in the specific, I am no longer allocating energy here, um, kind of release. And what needs releasing is different for everyone watching this. For some, um, it's a situation that has been draining more than it's been building. a job that costs more in peace uh, than it returns in compensation, a relationship dynamic that requires more management than it provides nourishment, um, a story about yourself that was true once and is no longer accurate. Uh, for others, what needs releasing is subtler, a resentment carried quietly, a grief not fully processed, um, a version of a past self um, still being protected long after the situation that required that protection has passed. Um, whatever it is, the energy around your turnaround seems to be asking for some clearing. Um, Not everything. The specific thing that you already know needs releasing, but have been holding on to uh, because letting go felt like losing something, even when what you'd be losing is something that was already costing you. Uh, because here's what release actually does in the context of a turning point: it creates space, uh, not metaphorical space, um, actual, energetic, attentional, emotional space. Um, the kind that allows new things to actually enter rather than bouncing off a system already at capacity with things um, that stopped serving you a while ago. The turnaround needs room to land. Clearing something, um, even one thing, gives it that room. The fourth energy, uh, and this is the one that matters most practically, uh, is action. Specifically, the action you've been postponing, um, the one that's been sitting in the back of your awareness, available, requiring only the decision to begin, um, but not yet begun. Um, because turnarounds, the real lasting kind, um, are rarely delivered. Um, they're built from the decisions made in the period before they become visible, from the actions taken when nothing external had yet confirmed that they were worth taking. Uh, and the energy coming through right now is pointing at something specific, um, not a grand gesture, one thing. Um, the one thing um, that you have been circling, researching, preparing for without yet taking the actual step. Um, that step taken in this window might be the thing that connects you to what's already building in your direction, not because of magic, because movement in the right direction um, intersects with opportunity in ways that stillness simply cannot. Um, uh, you cannot receive a turnaround while standing completely still. You have to be moving even slightly in the direction you want to go. Um, so move. Um, one thing um, today. Um, before this week is over, um, this reflection invites you to consider what is the one step. The specific available requires only a decision step that you have been postponing, um, not the whole plan, the next step, the one that's been sitting there, visible, uh, possible, waiting for you to stop waiting and simply begin. Because the turnaround that seems to be building um, needs something from you, not just something happening to you. And that something might be as simple um, as the next step finally taken today. Uh, not when you feel more ready. Uh, today, the fifth thing coming through, and this is the one I want you to carry uh, into everything that follows, is trust. Um, not blind trust, not the performed version, um, where you say you trust the process um, while white knuckling every variable. The specific kind of trust uh, that comes from having evidence, from knowing because you've lived it, that you have survived everything that has come before this moment, every difficult period, every season that felt like it might not end, every version of, I don't know how this resolves, that somehow eventually resolved. Um, you have a track record of surviving, of continuing, of finding the way through, uh, even when the way wasn't visible from the beginning. Trust that, not the outcome. Uh, yourself in the outcome, your capacity to handle what arrives, your ability to navigate, even imperfectly, uh, whatever the turnaround produces. Because the turnaround, however welcome, brings its own adjustments, its own new territory, its own version of, I've never navigated this before, um, and I'm not sure exactly how. Um, and the trust that gets you through that is not trust that it will be easy. It's trust that you are, as you have always been, um, capable of figuring it out through the being in it. not before. Um, through. Here is the summary of what the energy is asking from you uh, right now, um, in this specific window, to prepare for what might be turning. Uh, update the internal story, not the aspirational version, the operating one, the one that says what's possible. Uh, update it um, to match who you've become rather than who you were when the story was written. Um, release the one thing, the specific thing already known, uh, already identified, um, that is occupying space, the turnaround needs. Put it down um, gently, um, but actually take the next step, um, the one that's been available, um, the one that requires only the decision to stop waiting and begin. Uh, one thing this week, and trust, uh, not the outcome, yourself in the outcome. The version of you that has navigated everything before this and will navigate what comes after it, with the same imperfect, persistent, ultimately finds the way quality uh, that has defined you through every difficult season so far. That's the preparation. Uh, not more complicated than that. Not less important either. Uh, the power is yours. It always has been. Something might be turning in the energy around your life, in the direction of better, in the direction of what you've been building toward through every season that didn't show its purpose clearly while you were inside it. And you prepared with an updated story, um, cleared space, one step taken, and genuine trust in your own capacity are the version of yourself um, most likely to meet that turning and build something lasting from it. Not the version still waiting for proof, not the version holding the old story, um, not the version standing still. Um, this version, the one that heard this and decided to prepare. That's who the turnaround is looking for. Um, go be her. Go be him. Go be that person starting today. Um, take what resonates, softly release the rest. Trust yourself.